We welcome in former United States Senator, Democrat from Alaska, former Senator Mike Gravel. Hello, Senator. How are you?
Steve, fine, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's my pleasure. You know, I was very intrigued by what I heard from you over the weekend when I was doing my carousing around or carousing around the internet or my surfing, I guess you call it. And I found the citizen hearing on disclosure in Washington that you and five other former Congress representatives were speakers at. And, you know, just the other week we found this, someone found this little, it looked like a little ET. I mean, it was about a foot long, and they said that it actually had DNA. And, you know, then that faded into the background. So many times we hear reports of UFOs and strange lights, and no one could explain them, or the government poo-poos them. But when it comes to what always gets me, senators, when airline pilots or Navy pilots or people in the military, when they see things that they can't explain and they tell their stories, that's what piques my interest and makes me say, whoa, something is going on here. Now, you say that that there are extraterrestrials and that our government has always and is still covering it up, correct?
That's exactly correct. And what the hearing proved, now, we weren't making speeches. We, as former members of Congress, were invited to chair each day, 5 days. So essentially it was 40 hours of hearings from 40 different individuals. Probably two-thirds of them had PhDs. About a third or more than a third had military backgrounds, the highest being a full colonel. And then the others were just researchers who were bringing forth their knowledge. Now, it may surprise you, Steve, but there probably are 1,000 sightings a month worldwide. I'm talking worldwide. This is a global phenomenon, not just an American phenomenon. But the entity, the United States government, has been the most recalcitrant in recognizing this officially. Now, the White House says, "Oh, we know nothing about this. There's no files on this subject," and that's really an outright lie and crap, because we receive testimony from military people over and over again, indicating that there certainly was something there. And the secrecy starts with Harry Truman. Within an hour of the Roswell incident, the decision was made to keep this top secret, need to know, the highest level, because there's two reasons for it, Steve, if you'll permit.
Well, I would guess that. Well, and I'm glad you brought up Harry Truman, because my next point to you was going to make clear that you're not saying it's Obama that's covering it up. This has been the case for every president that has ever run into this. If in fact they've run into it, every president has covered it up. Correct?
That's correct, and and right now the latest is Obama, which is a ridiculous statement that the White House has made, which is they don't have any files on it, there's nothing to it. And that's ridiculous, because we get the people who wrote the reports, military personnel who wrote the reports testifying before us. And I'll tell you, Steve, these were credible witnesses. There weren't any crazies in the crowd.
Right. But I guess you're going to tell me, Senator, that one of the reasons, and I hate to jump the gun here, is that, there'd be some kind of panic. No, wouldn't there?
Well, that's what the leadership feels, and that's what's because of the War of the Worlds back in, 40, which was ridiculous. There was some people reacted to it. But no, the American people are not so immature that they can't handle this information. They handle it in Europe. They handle it in South America. In fact, in Peru, they get the officers who have experienced sightings to be able to go to the class of students and explain to them what they've seen. A little bit like we have firemen go to grade school to tell people about fire.
So are you saying in these other countries, and I don't know if you mentioned Europe as a continent that you just mentioned, you're saying that their governments have acknowledged that there are extraterrestrials?
They acknowledge the reporting. See, what is going on other than the secrecy over these? There's been about, what they tell us is about 10 crashes of extraterrestrial vehicles where they had human beings or humanoid, whatever you want, inside. And they've been taken to the United States and have been studied extensively. And with respect to the materials, our technologists are trying to re-engineer it so that we can develop the same capabilities that these extraterrestrials. So what we're saying is, and what I've come to a conclusion after a whole week of testimony, is that there is an extraterrestrial presence monitoring our planet and monitoring it extensively, and have not made an effort to communicate, because I think they've concluded, as I personally have concluded, that we are a warlike planet and that we're not mature enough to receive this. And our leadership, particularly the secrecy that by the United States, two reasons. One is there's a generic propensity for secrecy in the military and for those who have power. And secondly, the military have good reason to have secrecy because they know that these extraterrestrial presence can knock out our defense capability in an instant.
Well, in fact, and we're talking to former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Isn't there, or hasn't there been testimony, maybe it occurred at your conference, I don't know, where in fact there have been claims that our nuclear capabilities were taken down by extraterrestrials for a point of time?
Steve, you're so right. And we had testimony from the people that were in the pods of the Minuteman missiles. Captains who came forward, who are now in their retirement, are now telling us the truth that, hey, when these extraterrestrials were hovering above, everything did not work.
All right, well, let me ask you personally what you believe. In addition to the sightings and the testimony that you find credible, do you have reason to believe, do you believe personally that there are extraterrestrials, I hate to use the word infiltrated, but I'll use it, that are walking around, our streets, that have assumed human form, or that it's basically been, that have flown around, hovered above us, and things of that ilk?
No, I don't believe that they're walking around. I think that they are monitoring us from these unidentified objects, flying objects, and they're monitoring us. They're studying us. Now, keep in mind, these people are or whoever they are far superior to us. Because they have at least traveled 37,000 light years. And so they have a system of propulsion, a system of energy that our scientists can't fully comprehend. We did receive testimony that one of the major CEOs of a major defense contractor said, "Oh, we've got the technology, we could take ET home." Well, I jumped on that, and I don't. If that's the case, then we are being denied this new energy source, which could alter the livelihood of all human beings on Earth, because our problem at this point in our human development is energy. We're dependent on oil. We're dependent on oil from very odd places in the world which do not handle their responsibilities properly. So here's what I believe. I believe we are being monitored. I think there is an extraterrestrial presence, and I think it's unfortunate that we are not mature enough to communicate with them, or they choose not to communicate with us because they don't think we're mature enough, and I think that's accurate. And we don't have the scientific knowledge to handle what they've discovered. So clearly, these are from a planet that has had life that is more matured, more sophisticated than we had.
And you have no idea, or do you, where this planet might be? Is it one of the planets we know of, or is it just from a place completely beyond? And let me ask you this: are they a threat to us?
Well, they're not a threat to us, because if they wanted to, they could have destroyed us many times over. So no, obviously they're not a threat. What they are is they obviously are more mature and less warlike than we are, because they have not expressed any desire to annihilate us. And so there's no reason for panic or fear. I think what's important is to realize that that we need to form an agency at the global level that will turn around and will be able to monitor all these sightings, analyze them, and keep the public informed on the subject. There's no reason why the public throughout the world, Americans, this issue should be held in secret.
Well,
no reason at all.
This is fascinating stuff, and let me just ask you: do you think what you just said is what you'd like to see happen will happen in our lifetime? Do you think somehow some president is going to say, "I got news for you. Sit down, everyone. I got some news for you," and have that maybe fireside chat? I don't know what they would call it, laser side chat, warp speed chat. I don't know, but do you think that's coming in our lifetime or not?
I don't know. I know that we don't have a president who's courageous enough or knowledgeable enough or mature enough that he could be independent or she could be independent of the military. But right now in our development, we are run by the military and the power elites who do not want to change the present structure of energy distribution on the planet. And so that's part of the problem. We're just not mature enough, Steve. And will it happen? Will the people become mature within our lifetime? I sure hope so, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
Senator, it's been fascinating, and I hope you'll come back. Maybe I'd love to talk to you about some other issues about what's going on, both home and abroad. So we'll call on you again if that's okay.
Please do, because I have what I consider a solution, and the solution is not the government. That's where the problem exists. The solution is with the people, and the people need to be able to become lawmakers just because all they do right now is give their power away on Election Day.
Well, you sound more like slightly more like a Republican than a Democrat.
Well, no, quite the contrary. I think both parties need to have a great deal to be desired.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. That's former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel, Democrat.